If you're just joining us, my name is Ukorobi Estienne, and today we are looking at the journey so far. The Ninth Assembly has come and gone, and in couples of hours, first inaugural sitting of the 10th Assembly will take place, where principal officers will be elected and inaugurated in just a moment. But before we get into the issues of the 10th Assembly, we will be looking at the Ninth Assembly, and to do justice to this is a member of the Ninth Assembly, who is Honorable Davies Etta. He has been members and chairman of different committees in the House of Assembly, a two-term representative for Abi State Constituency. So if you are joining us, let's welcome Honorable Davies Etta. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome, Honorable.
Thank you.
So let's look at the Ninth Assembly. You were a part of that assembly, and a lot has happened in the assembly. So can you just give us brief history, how your views and what you think about the Ninth Assembly, which many cross-riverers had termed a rubber stamp assembly?
Well, thank you, Korobi, for having me. Well, I'd like to start by saying that the Ninth Assembly was a very robust assembly. Okay. It was as such because the Ninth Assembly was predominantly an assembly that was composed of returning members. Okay. Out of the 25 members in the Ninth Assembly, 16 were returning members and 9 were fresh members. I happen to be among the 9 that are fresh. So the Ninth Assembly was quite interesting in that because of the numerical strength of the returning member, it made it possible for those of us who are fresh to learn, from the experiences of these ranking members. I want to say that it wasn't easy, to assimilate with experienced members. You needed to be a fast learner, and you needed to think fast. But eventually, the advantage was that we had more capable hands, to handle the job of the assembly.
Okay. So now, judging from what you just said, the Ninth Assembly had about 16 new members, 16 old members and 9 new members. The 10th Assembly, we have just 4 returning members and over about 21 old members or new members. New members. So judging from both assembly, how do you think the 10th Assembly will be? Will it be a ground for trial and errors and all that? So do you think there will be a lot of lapses and so many responsibilities will be in the hands of the few returning members, making them overstressed and work themselves?
Well, it is obvious. The 10th Assembly is not that lucky to have many returning members as the 9th Assembly. That wasn't initially the plan. Okay. Unfortunately, the elections this time around are a bit different, and some of our returning members did not make it, to the House. But the few that are back, luckily, are very experienced members. Yes. But it is common sense that if you have few experienced hands, for the initial phase of the assembly, there's going to be this workload on the few experienced members. However, the fresh members that are coming in, from my interaction with them, are very zealous. And a lot of them have shown so much commitment, and dedication. And I believe with the spirit they already exude right now, they will be able to, to incorporate, into the House activities as soon as possible, so that the House can, get started.
Okay. And there's this information that some of them had been councillors at the
yes, in addition to that, a few of them have been councillors, so they have some form of experience in lawmaking. Others have been commissioners. Okay. They have also had some experience, because most of the commissioners have sent executive bills from their ministries to the House of Assembly. Okay. So I also believe that they will also have some form of exposure. Okay. However, in the assembly, we don't count most of this exposure as major exposure. Okay, we feel that when you come, you need to start from the scratch to learn. And I think with this edge they have, they won't find it difficult. Learning.
Okay, so now let's look at your first term. How many bills? Because we know lawmaking in Nigeria, we concentrate more on bills. So how has your first term been as with your relationship with your people? How has it been?
Well, I came from the people, so my first term, as a matter of fact, has been uh, a difficult term for me.
Okay.
In that, amongst the 25 members in the House, I happen to be the only member that had the longest or the most protracted court case.
Okay.
Finished from the tribunal, I went to the tribunal appeal, and from there my elections were, declared, inconclusive. We went for a supplementary elections, where I needed to, do another elections, and then won, and then came back, was re-sworn in, and then started, again. So it was indeed a very, very difficult period for me. However, considering the kind of person that I am, because I learned very easily, I was still able, amongst my peers, to also come up topmost with the highest number of bills in the House and the highest number of motions, in the House. So I moved about 9 motions in the House, and they sponsored about 6 bills in the House.
Okay, so now looking at those bills, can you give us a list of those bills, and also how many were passed, how many were assented, and how effective has those bills been in the lives of the common man, especially your immediate constituency?
Okay, yes. Out of those bills, 3 were passed, 2 still within the stage, committee stage, and most importantly, in the bills is the bill that has to do with quackery prohibition, medical quackery prohibition. As a medical doctor, I thought it wise, to come up with a bill that will prohibit medical quackery in the state, especially considering the fact that most of the persons during my stay in the hospital that died, were people that patronized, quacks. And then some of them were delayed by quacks before they were taken to the hospital, and eventually they died. And those who are lucky not to have died suffered a lot of, complications and debilitation. So I came up with a bill, medical anti-quackery prohibition, medical quackery prohibition bill in Cross River State. That bill has been passed, and I think that that bill will, as a matter of fact, reduce the mortality rate. And then I also came up with another bill, the anti-smoking regulatory bill. That smoking regulatory bill is a bill that seeks to regulate smoking in public places. Where in that bill we needed to make special provision for those who smoke. And if you're in a public place, there is a place we call the non-smoking zone and the smoking zone. So the smoking zone, according to that bill, as contained in the bill, is a place carved out, not greater than 10% of the total space. So if we have someone who smokes, and you want to smoke, you move to that place, and the place has some specification in terms of the gadgets you need to install, like smoke expellants and a few other gadgets that must be installed in that area, so that the smoking will not affect other members that are there. Then there are other public places that are strictly no smoking areas, like in churches, in other public places, as contained in the bill. And then there is also another bill I sponsored that has to do with port site development scheme. We have a port here, and then the bill seeks to give government the legislative framework to develop the port sites, so that they can come up with activities that will lead to employment, to cross riverians, and also generate revenue to support the government.
Now, let's look at the anti-smoking bill. Wonderful initiative.
It's not anti-smoking. Smoking regulatory bill.
Smoking regulatory bill. Wonderful initiative, because it's known that I think they said the third party smoker
stands
more risks than even the actual smoker and all that. So that is excellent. How far has that bill gone? And what is the public awareness in terms of how many of these public places, restaurants, hotels, office places, how many of them are aware of this bill, and how has it really gone penetrated into the society for people to become conscious and aware of these things?
The smoking regulatory bill, as a matter of fact, hasn't been assented to.
Okay.
So it has not taken force within the community or the society.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be one of those bills that we're going to dust and repackage in the 10th Assembly for His Excellency to assent. Because indeed it's quite a noble bill.
Okay, so now delving into that bill, I'm more interested in it because of the health risks and the hazard. It will really reduce for cross-variants. So what are the provisions for awareness creation? What are the provisions so that even the local person down in the village will know that even when I visit maybe my chief's palace or I am in a community meeting, village meeting, and all that, I'm not supposed to smoke there because people believe they have rights. This issue of rights and all that. So what are the provisions of that bill to ensure that this really goes down to the grassroots?
As a matter of fact, that bill is actually, it's among some of the bills that were passed by the National Assembly. It's an act of the National Assembly. We are only trying to domesticate the bill in Cross River State. The bill is wonderful in that there are provisions for how we can disseminate information and creating awareness for this bill. And as part of that bill is areas where you see that when that bill is assented to, it becomes unlawful for a father that smokes to even send his child that is below 18 years to buy cigarettes or tobacco product for him. It's unlawful. It is also unlawful for an adult to smoke in the presence of children that are below 18 years. It's also unlawful. It is also unlawful for for tobacco product to be retailed. You can't go and buy a stick of cigarette from that bill. You buy at least a pack of cigarettes. This is an attempt to curtail children, coming with, that don't have money. You have money to just go and buy, a stick of cigarette and smoke. No. If you must smoke, you buy a pack of cigarettes. So it will, in a way, because of the cost implication, deter children from smoking. From that bill also, it is unlawful for the tobacco seller, to sell without displaying some major adverts that are against tobacco. You must display those adverts conspicuously for people to see,
Like
smokers are liable to die young. Like there is also some other adverts that they put, you see the lungs of a smoker and the lungs of someone that does not smoke. You see the lungs of a smoker looking so dark, studded with carbon patches, and the lungs of those who do not smoke looking very fresh. This is to discourage people from smoking. There is also another one that they light a cigarette and they draw a circle and cross it that do not smoke. And a few other adverts.
Wow, wonderful initiative there. I must really confess, and I hope the incoming the governor and the incoming assembly, 10th assembly, have the courage and the wherewithal to ensure that this bill sees the light of the day, and the public, even the Ministry of Health, will now start the enforcement. And I know they are the mother body that will push this out and all that. So wonderful bill. Now, looking at the 10th assembly, and I know you're going to play a major role in the 10th assembly. You had some ups and downs in the 9th assembly as a legislature, not as an assembly now. Personally, some persons maybe in your immediate constituency, some persons in government, and other people may have had one or two things that they felt you should have done that you didn't do and all that. So what's different? What regrets do you really have that you think, given a fresh opportunity, you do differently?
Well, one, I would like to start with my level of constituency engagement. I want to say I'm not satisfied with my level of constituency engagement in my first term in the 9th Assembly. And if given the privilege as I'm having, I will want to have a more robust engagement with my constituents. And then secondly, when we came in the Ninth Assembly, we weren't that lucky to be trained by the legislature.
Okay.
And but this time around, when we return in the 10th Assembly, that training has already been, conducted, has taken place, and the incoming members are ready, and also in the 9th Assembly, I had a lot of litigations that actually distracted me, but in the 10th Assembly, I don't have any litigation.
Okay.
I just want to send a very special thank you to Honorable Henry Ofewa, whom I contested with. He's a very understandable, fellow, and he feels there is no point distracting, a member who has won election by taking him to court. Rather, you should allow him concentrate so that he can impact more on the people. And I think it's a very good move. So that has given me the leverage that as I sit, I don't have any litigation. And also an area I would like to improve on is my drive for the process of my bills.
Okay.
I discovered that the process was poor. It was slow.
Okay.
That was why most of the bills didn't get, to the third stage.
Okay.
And then that process, though didn't depend on me, depends on the management of the house. But I now know that you need to constantly be pushing, the administration of the assembly so that they can schedule your bill, as of when you want them to be scheduled.
Okay.
Those are the areas I like
All right. Thank you very much. If you are still joining us, we are with Honorable Davies Etta, member representing Abi State Constituency. And the program is The Journey So Far, x-raying his activities in the 9th Assembly and looking forward to his activities in the 10th Assembly. So, Honorable, your local government, Abi, is a war-torn local government area with the three strands, the ABI, the Agbo, the Bamono, and the Imabana. I think almost each of these strands has one or two pockets of violence, but heavily on the Bamono axis, which relatively peace has been restored. And from information, I think this year they'll be celebrating the 3rd anniversary of peaceful existence after about 17 years of violence and crisis. So what really happened? What magic did you play? Because I remember very well that was one of your campaign promises to restore peace in Abiloka. So how did you do it?
Well, I wouldn't say I did it. I want to say it was God's time for peace to be restored in the Bahomono axis of Abiloka government area. You are right. As a matter of fact, the axis for some years, has been torn by, communal fracasses and communal war that has actually led to the displacement of some communities, and then also led to the loss of, properties worth millions of naira. And, like everything that has a beginning, certainly will have an end. I just believe that at the appointed time, God touched the hearts of my people, and then they started listening to our plea, to cease fire and for peaceful coexistence. Most importantly, I want to give it to the youth. The youth actually are those who engage in the fighting. Chiefs don't fight. Women don't fight. Children don't fight. The youths are the ones, they are the key players in any, fighting activities. And as a result, any day the youth decide to cease fire, that certainly is going to be the end of the war. We were just able to appeal to the consciences of the youth, and through the various youth body, provide the logistic that they need, mobilize them to see how they can begin to engage themselves on the need to cease fire. And it yielded, result. And then we involve a whole lot of persons. Eventually, we had peace. Now, it is one thing to have peace, and it is another thing to sustain the peace. On the 20th of this month, we're going to be celebrating 3 years of peaceful coexistence. But there are still issues, that led to the unrest in the first place that are yet, to be picked. We need to pick these issues and provide solutions to these issues so that the peace we have can be sustainable. And those are the areas I also want to thank the former governor of Cross River State, His Excellency Senator Professor Ben Ayade, who charged us as a group of people to go and restore peace. And thereafter set up a committee led by the leader, the one-time leader of the
National
Senate, Senator Victor Ndomaegba. And then after the exercise, they submitted a report on that. And he also, gave them an extra task. And I believe that this incoming government will look into that report and see how they can provide lasting solutions to our problems so that we can have a more sustainable peace.
Wow. All right. Thank you very much. So finally, before I let you go, peace have returned to Abbey and everything is normalized. But just like you said, it has to be sustained. And for you, what will be your role in the 10th Assembly? That's one. What will be your role in the 10th Assembly? Then back to your constituency. For many years, we know because of the crisis, no project, no development had taken place in Abbey. So if you were to advise the current administration now, what do you think your people are in dire need of?
All right, let me start with the first question. My role in the 10th Assembly. Well, as a returning member, I think I have a lot to do in the 10th Assembly. First is to, encourage, the fresh members that are coming, encourage them, to, understand the rudiments of lawmaking, and also to rally around them towards ensuring that we are able to support the executive to, smoothly unroll their policies. That's going to be my role in the 10th Assembly. And also to ensure there is stability in the House so that the executive can...
Even when we have, for the first time, multi-party.
Yes, the executive can, as a matter of fact, concentrate in the actual act of governance. And then for the first time in the history of Cross River State House of Assembly, having been merged into a one-party system by the Norduke, that we are now having multiple parties in the floor of the House. So, but parties aside, the act of lawmaking is the same. The Assembly is a family, and we need to work as a family to support the government.
All right. So your
projects. Going to the second question. Abbey is divided into 3 axes: the Agbo, the Imarabana, and the Bahamono. I am from the Bahamono extract of Abbey local government area. Well, a lot of people would say because of the war, we have not recorded tangible project in that area for the past 16 years, But now that we have peace and we're living peacefully together, I believe that we are going to be looked upon by the government. I am also very, very happy because during the campaign, when His Excellency Senator Prince Basio II visited Abbey, we were together, and then he asked me the major project that the people of Bahamono will appreciate if carried out. And I told him what the people of Bahamono need right now is the road we call the Ring Road. The road traversing Anong, Ediba, Ismutong, Epijakara, Ebom, Bazowure, Igonigoni, Afafani, Abogo, back to Ediba. It's a ring road. Traversing across 9 autonomous communities. That is the only single project that when embarked upon, it will impact upon the 9 autonomous communities of Bahamono. That project is like a signature project as far as the Bahamono people are concerned. And then, of course, other projects will follow. But that is a project that even if you wake a Bahamono man from sleep today, they will mention. And whichever government embarks on that project will remain cherished and loved by the entire people of Bahamono. And indeed, the people of Abbey.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Davies Etta.
Thank you.
So this is where we draw the curtain for today, and this is the journey so far with Honorable Davies Etta. We've been looking at his activities in the 9th Assembly and his activities, what will be his activities in the 10th Assembly. And so far, it has been an interesting conversation. So thank you very much. Keep joining us on all our social media handles on the Daily News. Thank you. I remain Ukuribi Essien, your host.